All right, good evening, everyone. It's now 7:03. My apologies for the 3-minute delay. We just finished a busy 2 hours. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That was an exciting 2 hours there. All right. I have no specific changes to the agenda. The only comments are, actually, no, just one change. The resolution 8A, I'm sorry, 8B. I am now moving that down to 14A.
8B to 14A.
8B to 14A.
Okay.
It'll be after executive session. So I'd like to move 8B to 14A. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
And I'll second that.
John seconds it. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Everyone's reviewed the May 20th meetings. Anyone have any comments, omissions, any mistakes on there? I've reviewed it. I found none. Vinny, anything at your end?
Nope.
All right.
I'll make a motion. We accept the minutes as written.
Wonderful. Second? Vinny seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Communications and correspondence. Just have a few of these. Every month we get the updates from the city of Middletown, their central communication center. For the month of May, police department received 369 calls. The total for the year is 2,054, an average of 411 calls a month for the police department, a little bit quieter in the month of May. Portland Fire Department received 66 calls through the Central Communications Center in Middletown. Their average is 68, so about the same. Total number of calls from Portland into the 911 was 220. Average is 210 per month. So that is the update from the Communications Center. One note, we're coming up on the last of a 3-year contract with them. We'll need to look at that next year, but they handle the calls for Portland, for the surrounding towns. They do a nice job for us. Their total calls in a typical month are approximately 7,600 total calls in that station every month. 2,427 911 calls. So they get a lot of calls down there. So that is good. We appreciate all of their help. And I see we have the police here. We have asked our officers to get out there and do more traffic stops. Several selectmen have suggested that we need to have more visibility. In a 7-week period from April 1st to May 25th, the officers did specifically 134 traffic stops, excuse me. They were traffic cops as well. That averages out to about 20 a week that they're out there doing. So that number is a little bit ahead of the month to date previously. I have a copy of this that I'll provide to everyone at the end. I would have emailed today, but I didn't want to throw too much at everybody. So this is specifics. Arrest logs for the month of May. There were 14 arrests that our police officers did. Some months are more, some months are less, for a variety of different ones. That is all posted on their on the website for the police. Residents can go there and check it out. An extra copy for everyone. The case incident report. These are total number of stops outside of vehicle stops for the month of May was 475 total stops or total calls by our police department, including EMS and others. So variety of calls. That's for the month of May. Be typical of a month. It ranges between 450 to 500 in that range. So that is all the stops with our 13 officers. So all that information will be provided to everyone via email. If you have not got it already, I have extra copies up here for the board to look at later on if they would like to bring some of those home. Reminder also, we have a River Bend Landing event this Saturday morning. I have some brochures up here that were sent to me as well. I'll give it to everyone up here. We can pass it around. All of you are invited, as well as the residents in town, to this Saturday at 10 a.m. There will be ribbon cutting for the River Bend Landing project. We do have a shuttle bus going back and forth, or you can walk from the parking lot at Airline Avenue all the way down there. But the weather looks good. I encourage everyone to come. It's going to be a great thing. I will be out on my kayak that day, perhaps with my wife and others. So I encourage people to come down there. That would be great. And the only other thing I will bring up is the school referendum passed recently. We'll be setting up a committee today, but I've received a number of emails and calls and letters thanking this board for doing the work to get the word out for that. I want to thank the residents of town that have voted for it. I also want to acknowledge to those that voted against it, because I've gotten a few calls from there as well concerned about taxes, that we appreciate their voice. The vote passed significantly, but we promise to be good stewards of the funding. And tonight's action will require us setting up a school building committee, which will be tasked with doing that. So for those that voted, thank you. For those that voted no, I can assure you that we will be paying attention, and I hope that you will too out there. Attend meetings, watch the minutes, and ask questions and participate in the next 5 years. It's a long time to get it done. But we have grand goals, and I think we can put together a great committee to get it done. So those are the only communications I have that I wanted to bring up. Now, we have public comment now. Before we go into that, I want to remind those that want to talk about the mill rate that we'll be setting tonight. We will not be able to go back and forth during that time when we're talking about it up here amongst the board. So any comments or suggestions you want to tell us about that in particular, now would be the time. Otherwise, you'll need to wait until the public comment at the end of it. But by that time, hopefully we will have voted on what the mill rate would be. So I just want to actively encourage people that if they have comments or they want something that the board knows about that particular subject, or really anything else that we're going to be covering, now is the time to do that. So if anyone has any comments or any comments right now going forward, please just go up to there, state your name and your address, and then speak clearly, because that's pretty loud over there. So good to see you, Steve.
Hey, Mike. My name's Steve Marcusich. I live at 48 Summer Street. I'm of the opinion that the supplemental funding that's going to be received from the state should be dedicated to lowering the mill rate. The mill rate goes up every year. I think also some consideration down the road should be given to the seniors that are in this town, only because we've been here for decades and it gets more and more expensive to live every year. And I know that there are towns in this state that freeze taxes once a senior reaches a certain age. Walkett, for instance, does it when they're 70 years old. So in your future deliberations, I think that would be something that I would welcome you discussing to see how feasible it might be. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That's a good suggestion. Sure.
Rick Shar, 168 Middle Haddam Road. I agree with Steve. I think that other than, and I don't know the specifics of the budget that passed, but other than something that you had to take out of there, I would maybe give consideration to using some of this state appropriation to cover some sort of budget shortfall that you might feel is extremely necessary. But other than that, I think this is pretty much found money and it should go back to the taxpayers. And also, along with Steve says, we have, I'm glad that the new school referendum passed. I think that was needed, but I think we also have to keep in mind that we basically have declining school enrollment and we have increasing elderly people or non-school people. And, one of the reasons I fought so hard to get a new park in town is because I felt the older folks, this gives the older people some recreational opportunities. Even us old farts in our 70s can still get in a canoe or kayak, most of us, or like to go fishing and dip our feet in the water. So I'm just trying to, in the large picture, let's think about continuing to do things for the rest of the population now that we've I hope, covered the need of our youth with the new schools coming on and the new recreation park that we opened a few years ago. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Oh. Oh, yeah, please.
Judy Grippo, 10 Middle Haddam Road, Neighbor. I was at the last meeting and I just want to reiterate what I had brought up last meeting. 32% of the population in town passed the board, the education school funding. And so that's going to take into young people with children, seniors like myself. Oh, I hate to say it. And everybody in between. There were a lot of us that supported the schools, but we also need some tax relief. And, you know, it was brought up by the superintendent last meeting, health insurance costs for the schools, gas prices for the schools. Well, townspeople also have been impacted by gas prices, health insurance, groceries. I think it's a little bit disingenuous to say that the school budget should be made whole, quote unquote, from last meeting, when the townspeople need to be made partially whole, I think. So I hope that this board will have the courage and the fortitude to take that money and put it towards lowering the tax rate, the mill rate for this year, because we know in the future we will be having an increase because of the school renovations, which 32% of the town voted for. And that's great. And, you know, that's my spiel. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Judy. Absolutely.
I'm Mary Pelton, 124,
Little-
Mary Pelton, 124 Isinglass Hill Road in Portland. And I'm going to echo a lot of what Judy said. The townspeople came together, they answered the call and your plea to increase, not to increase, but to pass that budget referendum for the schools. The budgets had already been set by the time you had notification of this money and were agreed to by the Board of Education and the town of Portland, by you specifically. So the idea is that the people answered your call and delivered what you asked for. We're asking for a little bit of a break ourselves. Feel it's the mill rates, you tried the hardest to keep it as low as possible, but it's still an increase. And as Judy said, all of our expenses are going up. We all have our own expenses that we have to cover, and it's not like we can ask other people to pay our bills because we want something extra. We have to do without, we have to sacrifice. Having it come back to the mill rate, in my opinion, is a good act of faith and a reinvestment into the people that you are trying to serve.
Thank you.
Meg Scotta, 5 Freedom Way. I would like to just advocate for, I want to give you a little history lesson. When this whole process started at the LOB back in February, a group of people, including superintendents, board members, teachers, union members, and a very large number of stakeholders wanted the legislature, the education committee, to fix the funding, the basic foundational funding for school per pupil expenditures for schools. And because it had not been changed since 2011 or 2013, we were always getting in Portland $11,250 per student. We spend between $21,000 and $22,000 a year per pupil in Portland. That's our budget, and that's what that's approximately what we spend according to the EdSite, the Department of Education database. $11,250 in 2013 might have bought $11,250 worth of of resources and school supplies and what we needed, teachers. The inflation rate from 2013 to 2026 was 43%. So when the group of people met at the Connecticut Association of Board of Educations, we said we need $16,000 from the state in our districts every year per student with an index to look at the inflation rate. That would have been very satisfactory and we wouldn't be having this discussion tonight. Unfortunately, the governor had a better idea, and that was to allocate money for municipalities who are struggling with budgets and school districts who are struggling with budgets because of health insurance costs and benefits. Unfortunately, our budget doesn't include, $22,000 is including all of the overhead expenses for teacher salaries and all the things that go on in a building. It's not just resources, it's not just books and whiteboards and computers. So at the end of the day, I would like you to honor the allocation that was given. 2/3 was given to educational, supplemental educational funding, and 1/3 of it was going to be given to the town to ameliorate the tax burden on taxpayers. And the other thing I would remind you is that if you lower your tax rate and and reduce it, next year, that money may not be there for towns to do the same, and you may be you may have a cliff coming forward in the years to come. Because this year, you would lower the tax rate, bring in less revenue, and not have that revenue next year. So you'd be making up the difference. And I think, math is math is math, but I think if we could come to a compromise on how we could split that $590,000, which is a windfall. Look, nobody expected that kind of money. But I'd like to see us at least not going into the 27 school year with a 200,000 deficit. So I think I'm urging everybody to be fair and do the compromise. And I'm a senior myself, so I get it. I do get it. And thanks, Rick, for the park. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Meg. Appreciate it.
Good evening. Laurel Steinhauser, 56 Prospect Street, and I have the privilege of serving as the chair of the Board of Education. And I wanted to start, I will echo some of what Meg said, but I wanted to start by just expressing gratitude to the state for the $528,000 in supplemental education funding that they are sending to Portland, and to echo Meg's reminder that that funding is coming to us because of a lot of hard work that happened over the last 5-6 months and earlier. Really, this is years in the making, right? This is years of advocacy work by members of boards of education, by first selectmen and mayors, by our own advocacy organizations. Mike and I were up testifying at the Capitol this year. And so this really does represent the work of a lot of individuals trying to speak with one voice about what our communities need. And the message was really clear to the legislature that the legislature's commitment to education funding has been lagging. That the fact that they have not updated the base calculation for the education cost sharing formula since 2013 means that an ever growing chunk of education funding is shifting to local taxpayers. And so the message was really clear that we need more support for public school funding and we need relief for our taxpayers. I wish that the solution they came up with had been clearer. I wish that there had been more clarity in how they said to use this funding. I wish they had updated the ECS formula and not pushed it off till next year or the year after. Instead, what we got was a commitment of a significant chunk of money with two purposes. That money was established to supplement education funding and provide relief to strapped school budgets and to provide relief to taxpayers. And the legislature, in their wisdom, said, here's money, it's for these two purposes, have at it. And it creates a really unfortunate scenario that pits boards of education against boards of selectmen or against communities. And that's happening across Connecticut. And I want to be clear that that's not a scenario that I think should be or needs to happen in Portland. Because I think we all want the same thing. I think we want strong schools, and I think we want to see real tax relief for our taxpayers. My ask tonight is that we honor what the funding was initially intended to do, to provide some support for strapped school budgets and to provide some relief to taxpayers. And so I am asking that you consider a split of the supplemental education funding and allow the Board of Education to begin the next school year in a solid position. As you all know, and hopefully as our community understands, our board had to set a budget before our insurance contracts were settled. So the ask we came to the town with did not account for an additional, nearly $150,000 in health insurance costs. And we didn't go back as a board and adjust our ask to you. We came forward transparently and said, this is the situation we're in. The Board of Selectmen, as part of your process, cut $50,000 in addition to that from the Board of Education's request. So we are in a situation where if we don't make up for that $200,000 gap, we will have to make some significant cuts beyond the many things we already cut in order to get the budget to the position it was in. We will be looking at cutting staff. That's really the only way to manage a cut of that size. So if you are able to do what the legislation has asked us to do and provide both support for our school budget and relief for taxpayers, that would allow us to manage that $200,000 hole that we have, as well as to bring back a K-6 teaching position that we had to eliminate in what was very, very difficult budget deliberations. That would make a big difference if we can keep that position in district, not increase class sizes in our second grade. I think, that's our hope. And that's my job, to advocate for the needs of our district and of our students. And so that's my ask for you all, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Laurel. Would anyone like to say something during public comment? Sure. Give something.
Jennifer Talone, 27 Church Street. I'd like to echo Mary Pelton, as she said it way more eloquently than I did, that I will or would. But I do feel that the taxpayers definitely need a break. It's been quite some time now, and so yeah, I think that the money should be used to lower the mill rate. Why is everybody? You didn't hear what?
Look behind you.
What is it? Julio's hotspot.
Oh. Julio wants to
Should
say-
I high five him?
There you go. I guess Julio wants to say something. All right. Julio.
Hey guys, Michael Hernandez, 71 Stewart Hill Road. I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. I'm agreeing with what the first couple of speakers had said. I think Portland deserves a break, some kind of relief, and this is the great opportunity to do it. You've already set the budget for the school year, and I couldn't agree more with the first four speakers today. So I just want to put my 2 cents in. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Is there anybody else online, Nick, that wants to say something? All right. Well, there'll be another public comment at the end of the meeting as well, if you haven't gotten out what you want to say. But with that, let's go on to the next one. Tom Robinson, Finance Report. Everyone has their copy?
Yes.
So good evening, board. So wanted to start on the budget revenues. Looking at the first few,
Tom, it's a little bit louder, I'm sorry. Well, it's loud over there, that's why. I'll try to turn that off for a couple of minutes, that might make it easier.
it'll be all right. I can talk louder if you want me to talk louder.
I know you got volume.
So I'm looking here at the property tax return, property tax revenue here for prior year. Account 010000000011. Looking between that, 12 and 13. Those are the ones of prior year and interest. So we're slightly over the amount that we had budgeted. So those are positive things that we had
Thanks.
that we had gone after. Also, with the supplemental motor vehicle has become in slightly better than we'd expected, so that's a positive as well. On the 010000000101 educational cost sharing, that one we're gonna get $44,000 less than we had expected. 16,000 was 16,618 was related to the budget that we had approved. The governor had lowered the expectation on that money before we had set the mill rate, or after we had set the mill rate. So that was so that 16,000 was a number that we had that we just weren't ever going to get once they changed the budget after we had already done our process. And then there was about 27,688 of ECS and excess cost adjustments. Those are things that are normal that occur just on change in reporting or in costs if people leave district and things of those things we have to deal with annually. The thing too, the 16 is a little different than normal. Normally we have the number that we have adjusted initially, and then we just have to worry about those adjustments. But they adopted the budget. The governor's budget came out later than we had already done ours last year. So that's why that 16 was there. 00312 conveyance tax and 00314 recording fees. We have those are just coming in slower and lower than obviously expected. House sales have been slowed due to low inventory, and then the interest rates have been not as low as they had been in the past, which causes people for recording fees not to refi as much, and just global amounts. We're also we also need to have our May and June activity would need to be in this report. May was unavailable at that point. And then in 00328 structural permits, that has come in slightly higher than we had budgeted. So some good things, some items that are offsetting to the not good, but overall doing okay. All right, moving on to expenditures. Page 4, we brushed upon that before with the fire marshal's budget account 010210011003 part the payroll number there. That would be a part-time payroll. There was more hours with the spa construction, with spa blasting, how that that transpired and took place. The Brainerd Place and historical buildings, and then other fire marshal hours required additional hours. On page 6, which is highway 0103200130002, overtime budget is 16,000. We've spent to date 20,852. Storms, non-snow related, and also assisting the water department and the sewer department in any of the breaks, and any type of paving projects that sometimes require them to work overtime on. 03200360004 telecommunications. This is one of those ones where Comcast's bill is just slightly higher than we had budgeted. So we have an additional month left in that number. 01032003607 storm water monitoring was budgeted 4,000, 10,000, 837. We talked about this, continued and additional monitoring, and then there were some permit update requirements that the Director of Public Works has worked on with our engineers. 01032610003 equipment supplies, 21,017 spent, encumbered around 7,922 between active and pre-encumbrances, and that's a lot of plow blades were required, multiple purchases this year due to the heavy snow volume, other equipment supplies for the highway for safety and to complete the project work that they have. Page 7033, this is a vehicle maintenance budget. So just looking at 0103300440003 equipment repairs. We're at 131, 95 expense, encumbered around 30,000. We're at 4%. This is one of those, that as we go through June, the Director of Public Works will continue to monitor that budget. And then as things need to get, we'll try to monitor that and review and, fix things as we need it. But, we'll watch that budget globally. Page 8, 0137. 0013002 overtime, 7,000 budgeted, 11,000 spent, over by 4688. This is for town projects where they need to come in for overtime, storms, alarm call-ins, provide support. Sometimes they come up, provide support for opening the park when the park attendant's unavailable. The 01037004403 equipment repair and rental. 7,000 budgeted 16,237. We've talked about this issue here. We've had some furnace improvements at Company 2, library repairs for about 24,900 at Company 2, library repairs for about over $1,000, library electrical for 2,400, police door safety for 1,885, overhead door for Fire Company 1 and 2 for 1,099 and 1,025. And then, as you can see here, the rental of this air conditioning units for 1 week at 1,965. There's a possibility of an additional week on that, as there were some additional things that were wrong with the air conditioning unit that required additional time to order the parts. 037 0061 building supplies, 17,000 budgeted, 15,460 expended, 3,584 encumbered. These were for door supplies, door handles, locks, plumbing supplies, electrical supplies, lighting supplies, all types of supplies that are needed by the building maintenance department to work across all different towns and town buildings to buy supplies. Page 11. Municipal agent of the elderly, the 01505501401 van driver stipends, 38,000 budgeted, 48,902 expended. To my knowledge on this, it's a lot of appointments for driving various residents to different types of appointments that they have, and so I know that the First Selectman continues to monitor with the Senior Center Director. That's what I have on expenditures for this cycle.
All right. Anyone have
Thank
any
you.
questions?
Appreciate it all.
Yeah, so Tom, like on some of these things, I mean, does there become a point, since it's like the end of the year, where say it's supplies, say it's the drivers, say it's whatever, where we just say you can't do that anymore? Or do we just keep going? Because there's still another month to go, right? So
Yeah.
do we,
Yeah, I mean, that's a
Think
decision
it'll be
that
managed.
that Michael would make with
right,
Yeah.
we may say you
Senior
just
Center.
can't
Absolutely.
buy another door knocker
Absolutely.
till July.
But
1st.
generally supplies, so the way that the budgets work globally is you're looking at the global budget. I'm bringing you areas of concerns within
Right.
the actual budget. We looked globally at the total budget. Some of the things that we did this evening earlier help us mitigate the
Right.
total storm there.
Right.
With the snow that I'll bring back. So now it kind of brings contingency back into the game where contingency had kind of got used up. If we had moved contingency, it would have used it up for the snow. So that transaction that we did earlier today kind of freed some of that back up.
Mhm.
So it allows, so now we still have some of the contingency remaining that we can move in the fourth quarter transfer. So yeah, I mean, globally, we look at the budgets. If they get too far, generally we tell the people to stop. The van drivers, it's been my understanding from the board's direction normally is continue with that until someone tells us, someone says to stop that. That's been the way that we've kind of been instructed in the past. So, but you know, Mike works with the director on that one directly. So, you know, that's, you know, there are needs for those people. Usually on public safety, like for repairs and supplies, we try to mitigate globally within the budget to make sure that we handle appropriately. Some of these departments may require fourth quarter transfers in later when we do that, when during the, when I get the audit ready for y'all, October, November range, usually November. So you'll have the fourth quarter transfers. We'll do those and then, but so, you know, that's the answer to that
Okay.
question is that we watch the budgets global, each budget globally. Some of them will go over. Hopefully we can resolve that with contingency. You know, and if, you know, if somebody, and generally we're not approving things that are not, you know, needed. You know,
Yeah.
it's like this, like.
No, I
really
wasn't.
Shut
I was-
down.
Right.
No, I'm just saying like in this scenario, you can't really not provide, repair, you know, air conditioning to the.
I don't know, you're not providing it right now. Yep, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I did not turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, Tom, thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Mike, before we move on, since Charles is here, can I ask him a question that's finance, but on his side?
It's related to finance?
Yeah, I just have a question as to what something is, because these descriptions aren't always great. What does purchase professional technical services for the Board of Ed consist of?
Oh, boy, that's things like our contract with our
Okay.
AOS. They help manage
Page
our
13.
service. There's a bunch of different things within that.
330.
I'm sorry, say that again?
No, he was asking what page it was on.
Yeah, page 15.
It's on all the pages. It's under every school.
Oh, I've under every
Yeah,
school. It's
I
the
was-
line. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, but those are for things like I'll just give you one example. We use a software company called AOS to help monitor our networks and servers.
Mhm.
And those are all those are the types of purchase professional services that would fall into that. Is there a specific one that you have a question about? There's
No, I
multiple-
just saw it repeatedly through each school and, you know, the overall system. So I was just wondering.
Yeah,
if it
purchase
was.
professional service might be like our subs. We use ES, right? ESS, what else would be in that? Give me a few others. Yes, that's because we have subs that keep.
Anything that's a professional service. More, it's the big number, the ESS.
Yeah, that's we would see, because we have subs for each of our building, that's how we account for them. But it would also be like Perfect Temp, you know, all of the contractors we use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you usually over that much at the end of the year?
For this year, we are not gonna end in a deficit. We're actually gonna end in a little bit of a surplus.
Okay.
So.
Switch from an internal position.
Correct.
To a contracted service.
We,
And the savings there, so there's savings in the personnel.
Okay.
right, it's all offsetting. So thank you, but specifically with respect to AOS, we used to have a network manager, somebody we hired and paid their salary and benefits. We found it was less expensive to contract with an outside vendor to monitor our network. And that actually saved us money. So where you might see an overage in professional services, it's balanced out because our certified or classified salaries line item would be lower by the delta of the difference between the two.
Okay.
During this like time of year, there's also additional, you can say, I don't know, there'll be additional transactions that will be journal entry to various other parts of the budget as well. So at times components are charged to the general fund and then related to the different grants that they need to go to, or if it's a special education, if it's a excess cost item, some of that will get journal entered out to that revenue generating fund. So you'll see on the Board of Ed side, it's a little challenging. You look at it, they're over, but then there'll be journal entries out that
Okay.
will bring them more back in line. So that Stephanie and her team does a great job of analyzing that throughout the cycle and the season. And then, as the entries need to be done, she makes those entries.
Okay.
And just to be clear, we are not in a deficit. Very good.
No,
news. We have 3 weeks.
I know
left.
overall, I was just concerned about that because if you add them up through all the categories, it's over $150,000 over what it was budgeted for.
Yeah, the board does a lot of these transfers in November, like Tom said, when we round out the list, but globally, we're in good shape this year.
Okay. I just have one other quick question. I believe it was, I don't know, the middle school, the extracurricular salaries. Why was that so high? It was budgeted for 17 and it's over 31. Was there a lot of extra sports or something that wasn't
No,
planned?
I don't know why that is. I have to take a look at it. I tell you what, let me get Stephanie, I'll send you an email tomorrow.
Okay.
But it wouldn't be $20,000 over like.
What line? What line?
Page 21, 11,015.
No, we didn't. I mean, to answer your question in terms of, you're talking about extracurriculars, you're saying?
It says extracurricular salaries, Board of Ed, 17.5 was budgeted and they're at 31.1 right now.
Let me find out. I'll send you an email tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Good questions. Thank you, Dr. Britton. All right. So. All right, new business. So we're going to have a discussion now about setting the mill rate, and that discussion involves how do we split the money from the state? So I want to just give a quick overview from my point of view, because I've been following this closely since we had gone to the state to advocate for more money for the schools and testified. And having talked to Matt Ritter and others in the state legislature for what the intention was, what they wanted to do. It has been a legitimately confusing thing. The intention was initially for education, and that's what they started with. And it ended up with a concoction of different things. And there was competing press releases regarding the money. That was confusing to not just our town and to residents, but to many towns. Because the intention was education. And then the governor put out a separate report or separate PR piece that said it really should be for reducing tax burden. It could be used for both, but they were both kind of competing with that. So for our board, with those confusing signals, we chose at the last Board of Selectmen meeting to delay setting that because there were too many things that were confusing about that, and there were too many things that were said that were conflicting on both sides. So we wanted to regroup and come back again once we had more clarity. And fortunately, there's some additional clarity, but the bottom line from everyone from CCM and other organizations that follow it and the legislature, it can be used for both. And it has created, as Dr. Britton said, created a position where we as a board can decide to put it all to education. We can decide to put it all to tax reduction. It's up to this board to decide and to kind of balance out the interest of that. My personal feelings was having set our town budget, we had extra time to know what the costs were for insurance. So when we were going through the whole insurance process, we were clear on what the cost of insurance were, and we were able to use that to guide what our budget was going to be for government side. I understand from Dr. Britton's side that because of the way that we have it set up in the charter and the dates and all, they had to come up with a budget based on guesstimates from the year before. So they rolled the dice as best they could. And then when the 20-something% came in and modified down to 19.5% came in, it was something that I feel personally, and everyone can chime in, was a legitimate reason to ask for something to fill that if possible. We went through the budget process. and we pulled, I think there was 144,000, if I'm getting right, and another 50,000. We ultimately ended up reducing your budget down by $200,000 through a long and I think a positive discussion at the board. We all talked about that. We did everything we could. There were give backs. We ended up moving some things from the budget to capital improvements, which we voted earlier tonight because we had a surplus from the year before that we were able to apply. So to bring it all kind of full circle, I understand the need, and as a result, what I have put together tonight, and and everyone has been sent that, I have 3 different proposals for mill rates based on 3 different scenarios. And the 3 scenarios that I'll have in front of the board tonight are one where we make whole the minimum $200,000 that the Board of Ed budget was shorted based on the discussions we had before that we know about. A second proposal is based on splitting the $527,000 that was for education. What exactly was it called? Yes, education supplemental aid, just because they had a couple different terms. That would split that money equally between the town and Board of Ed. And then there was another $52,000 that came from the Mohegan Fund that automatically goes to the town that we had automatically talked about putting that toward tax relief. And the third number is $300,000 toward Board of Ed, and the balance 280 for the town, based on the fact that the Board of Ed is about 62% of the budget. The town government is the balance, the 48, and that was roughly a split on that. So those are the 3 proposals that I have tonight. What I'm hoping we can do, because we are the ones that are going to decide this tonight, is I want to have a vigorous debate about what makes sense. Before we do that, before we get into that to talk about the details, I said I wanted to offer to Dr. Britton the chance to go up there and maybe advocate for what you feel and what you think is the right thing to do, as Laurel did. And then I want to start the discussion among us and talk about those 3. Now, if we can't decide at any one of those 3, if we can't get a vote on 200, the split, and the 300,000, then we may not be able to set the mill rate tonight, because if it's a different number, I'd like to, but anyways, but either way, we need to just discuss that through. So with that in mind, I'd like to turn it over to Charles, Dr. Britton, to tell us what you think we should do.
Sure. So I just a couple, let me just start by saying that if there was any confusion on what I said last time, we have 3 weeks left in the school year. We are not going to end in a deficit. I'm very happy to say that. We're going to have a little bit of money, like I think last night Stephanie was projecting. We still have a couple payrolls to run, a few more bills to pay. We're probably going to end with 25 to 50,000 in a surplus, which is really good. It's pretty good. Lending a $25 million budget with that left is good. So we're not in a deficit. We're not in a deficit. Any deficit I talk about tonight would be next year's deficit. Deficit for the budget year starting July 1. I also want to just start by saying Laurel explained it really well tonight, and I'm going to kind of repeat what she said. But the thing I dislike most about this, the way this law was passed, is the feeling it creates, right? Like, I don't like this us against them kind of mentality, because we all share the same goals, right? We all recognize that the way schools are funded in the state has been disproportionately shifted to local property taxpayers, and that the state is not taking on the right amount of share. We have been very vocal about that. CABE has been vocal. My organizations have been vocal. We've asked the state to relieve the property taxpayers because it's getting burdensome on property taxpayers. We share that goal. We also have to recognize that our school budgets are being cut and being eaten away every year by inflation. We're all experiencing it. But for my purposes, our special education costs went up. We got them under control. That's why we did a lot of things this year, like bring you the lease tonight and open that revenue stream from Saybrook Reading. We're working regularly. And I do believe that ultimately this school consolidation, it long-term, especially after the 25-year repayment on the bond of this, is going to save the town significant money when you reduce the number of people you need to run the number of schools you have and right-size your schools, because yes, student population is going down. So a lot of really good things have happened this year, and it's just kind of crummy that we now have to have this sort of bad taste in our mouth talking about, is this for property tax relief or is this for schools, when I think we all share the same goal of both, right? That said, because of the calendar and the way I had to develop the budget, I put a 14%, which is obnoxiously high, by the way, for an insurance increase in the budget, right? We found out that the actual increase, when it was said and done was 19, almost 20%. That difference between the placeholder I put in at 16% and what is actually our renewal rate at 19% is $146,000, right? But at that point, I couldn't go back and ask you for more. I could have, but you were managing a difficult budget season. So the first part of my deficit is created by the calendar, right? I would love it if we could change the calendar and that I was actually building a budget, not with guesses, but with real numbers. But that would require at least another month or two for us, instead of me presenting you the budgets when I do, add 4 or 6 weeks on that. And of course, I do think it's a really good idea next year to have more involvement in this discussion with our insurance broker and choosing a path forward. I think that's a really good idea and something I would welcome. So as of July 1, I'm in that $146,000 deficit, right, to start. Additionally, when I stood up in front of you last time, you had said, can you take a $50,000 cut? If you remember the look on my face, it was like, oof, to me now, for me to have to cut 146 and 50 to cut another $200,000 out of the budget would be a stinger, right? Because I already made pretty significant cuts to help offset the blow from the insurance and other increases. I said at that time, I'm willing to take it for now because I'm confident that Hartford is going to provide us some relief. Because I just want you to know, Meg Scott is president of CABE. Laurel went up and testified this year. I was very active this year with all of my, personally at legislative breakfasts and with our superintendents groups. We worked really hard to make sure that Hartford heard us, that we were struggling, both on the property tax side and the school funding side. A lot, and you saw our letters, right? Some really good advocacy work went into our appeal to Hartford. And at the time when you said, can you take the $50,000 cut? I was hearing from our various lobbyist groups and our legislators and Norm Needleman and Christy Carpino and others that there's a lot of wind in the sails of this relief that was coming. Remember, I'd said that to you. And here we are, right? That this is good news that Hartford heard our appeals and it came in the form of this $527,000. Now, I think in a show of good faith, I think we can accomplish both. I think we can help the schools with the budget deficit that we're facing, that 200,000, and we can provide the property tax relief. It's up to you. It's entirely your decision. To me, let's split it right down the middle. Provide the property tax relief. Let me help make that insurance fund whole so that I don't have to reduce any more positions. And then we'll be in a really good spot come July 1. That's my pitch.
All right. Any questions for Charles? Either side. Dr. Britton, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I will echo, it is uncomfortable. But the budget that was voted May 11th included a 1.5 mill rate increase. Whatever we do tonight is going to lower that. So the good news is we end up getting $580,000 from the state. That's a really good thing. And I understand the concern of residents about, we've just voted for a big school project and tax relief is important. I get that. So tonight I'm hoping that we can come together on this. We have other things important as well tonight, but I guess I'm going to open it up to the floor and start the conversation here. So who wants to either express an opinion about one? Again, the three that we have here as a resolution are the $200,000 split. The balance goes to the town and produces a $267,000 to Board of Ed, and the balance goes to town to tax reduction, or $300,000 to Board of Ed. So let's start with that, and who wants to jump in first? Oh, I'm sorry.
What is it?
I'm sorry, 263, excuse me, 263. It's 520, thank you.
What do you mean?
It's $263,000 to Board of Ed, and the balance
And
to,
it's half of, yep.
that's a half of
Yep,
the
gotcha.
527, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Tom. So, who wants to start this video?
Okay, I'll kick
Please.
it off.
Very good.
So basically, this whole, this almost sounds like it on the surface, it's, a complicated last will that's now making it to probate, right? And, but I think this is exactly what they intended. I really do. I don't, we should say Hartford is really screwed up, which they probably are. But I think the best control the best decision is made at the local level. The closest you are to here, somebody in Hartford is not listening to, they weren't part of our budget deliberations. They didn't hear any of this. They're just up there and they gave us some leeway. Who best to make the decisions but selectmen and council people scattered points of light throughout the state? And so I think that this was intentional. Maybe they didn't mean for it to be good, but I think it was good. We had a budget that we approved. And it was presented to our townspeople and it was overwhelming approval. I think it was like 84%. Nobody agrees on that. And so we had towns that agreed for the school consolidation as well as our budget. The amount of money that we're asking for, I think we have an ability to satisfy everybody. We had a $147,000 gap, which we 100% identified in the Board of Ed that was due to crazy circumstances. Nobody argues with that. There was also an additional $50,000 of which the Board of Ed had a solution for. Now the solution is gone. So I'm not even going to get into is it 147 or 200, but I think it solves the problem of closing the gap with the hardship that the Board of Ed really had. They didn't have a solution for the 147. In fact, I was actually upset at the time thinking we just agreed on a budget and they've already going into this thing on minute one with a $147,000 problem. Okay, so unless they were creative throughout the year, they had a deficit of that. This is a way of making our legislators, our senators and representatives in Hartford. This is, I think, what the bill was. It was because this would be really, really hurting our Board of Ed. My position is we do not exceed the $200,000. That is my recommendation. And by doing that, it takes our mill rate and brings it to 3 versus the 4.26% increase that everybody voted for. Our townspeople voted for 4.26%. This is going to get it to 3. That gap is what's going to cover us over the next 10 years, if you will. It lowers the water line as we start to absorb the cost increases for the schools that we just approved at $109 million. It's a way, we said the average over the next 10 years was going to be 0.65 or 0.85?
0.62.
0.62.
Nope.
This is a 1.3% reduction from 4.26 to about 3. If I did my
3.0,
math.
yeah.
What is it?
3 point, it goes from 4.26
For the 200,000.
to 3.0.
3.0.
Yeah.
This actually takes significant cut at that. So when the school consolidation starts to kick in, those expenses kick in, it will be an increase, but it will be from an already lowered water line. That's kind of my view. And I guess I'll just say it, anything over a 200,000, I'm a no vote. Just
Yeah, I think that when I look at the bill, and you read the language of the bill, it definitely had the intent of helping close the gap with funding issues. I think we're very fortunate in Portland, and I think we've always got to say and remind and kind of just very clearly say thank you to the voters in Portland. We're very lucky that in a tough year, they were willing to fund a fairly, the necessary increase to keep our schools in pretty good shape, in great shape, really. This funding allows us to basically take care of the one remaining gap. I feel very much the same way, right? It's sort of it's like the bill has 2 sets of language in it, right? Reduction versus closing the gap, which kind of hits exactly where our problem is. We have a gap that was created by the excess cost in healthcare. I am glad that we'll all be working on that to try to do something aggressive with that next year. But it also gives us a chance to do tax relief and to provide some tax relief, which I think keeps faith with the voters that are looking for us to basically take care of them as well. Because I think everybody is seeing the same increases as on the board. I want to make sure that I've got sort of the numbers right though, right? We're looking at, I think, what is it? 527 was education and 59
No, so 527 was the education.
For the
portion.
education portion,
52.9 was the.
52.9. See, I had a 59.2. That's the way
There you go.
I
No,
always
the-
like to see the higher number coming in.
The total is about 580.
Right, so, so if we go with the $200,000, which allows the Board of Ed to start the year without a gap, that allows us between the remainder of the Board of Ed, the monies for education that were allocated, and the monies that were allocated directly to the town to reduce taxes, basically apply about 379,000, right, towards the reduction in taxes, which when we look at it, that gets us what, about,
It brings us from a 1.50 mil increase to a 1.06. a
yeah, I was gonna say, it's gonna be about, it's
0.44
gonna be just over 0.4 mil.
Yeah.
So that's that's the way that I lean. It keeps the Board of Ed. To me, it's a very rational way for us to approach it. It fills the gap that we know we have, which is one of the intents of the bill. And it provides tax relief, which is the other stated intent of the bill.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, please.
So a couple of things, that I thought, and I heard these from, both sides. And I had the same thing. I just took some in the research that I did and the conversations that I had. The intent of the funds were to be used to close critical school funding gaps and provide property tax relief to residents, both things. And to maintain services really and offset stagnant state aid that has not kept pace with inflation. So I do have to say a couple of things that I feel the Board of Ed talked about the advocacy. I think it's very important that everybody hears that without their advocacy, we would not even be looking at this money. And that really is a fact. So I think that we have to applaud our Board of Ed, our superintendent, our Board of Ed, Mike, and everybody, and the other superintendents and Board of Eds in the state going there, because since 2013, not to fund educational cost sharing is really a problem. So I think, and I heard this up there as well, that they did muddy the waters by the way that they just put it out there, the intent, and we could, I think we're all saying the same thing, and Ven saying maybe they were intentional with that, but I think that they often, kick it to us to do this. But I think we have to find a way to do both. Where I'm at right now, I'm at minimum $200,000 goes to the Board of Ed. I would like to hear, I heard what this minute, if we were at the 263, what that is in.
It would bring down the mill rate from 1.50 to 1.13.
And
or a
what
0.37.
Is there a real dollar figure that somebody can give me that I know what we're talking about? No, it's just a,
So we were doing some of the numbers earlier today. Just what would a 0.37 mill rate be on someone's home? What would be the difference? And if someone knows the value of their home as it's assessed, they can plug that number in to see what the difference would be. So I'm not going to risk it because my mathing isn't mathing today. So if someone wants to put that number in, but that would be the actual mill rate difference from 1.5 to 0.3. So 0.3 would be the reduction of what's already been approved by the residents of Portland, the voters of Portland.
okay.
Give you a number.
Well, no, I mean, that doesn't,
What's that? Okay, between 120.
Annual. 125 to 150 annually,
Okay, and that's for,
approximate.
okay. So either way, it will be a reduction.
right, so what I'm saying is, I guess where I'm at, I would like to hear from the other selectmen as well, but 200,000 is minimum for me, and I could possibly entertain a split.
Thank you. John?
I was hesitant at the last meeting to put it off, quite honestly, because I knew we were under a timeline to do that. But I didn't feel that we actually had any clear information on how this was supposed to go. And actually, I believe it was after closing hours on the night of our meeting, we received Office of Policy and Management further information, which quite honestly was probably as confusing as everything else. You know, we live in a world of political sides. And I'm happy to say that we sit on a board where no matter which party you represent, we're all sitting here in Portland as number one. And I think that's why we work so well together. But I was actively involved on that school project, and I actively promoted the project because I thought it made sense for town. But it's very difficult to be able to take off that hat and try to step back, putting all your opinions aside and trying to represent what's best for the town all across the board. And, you know, we have different factions in town. We have our children, our families with children. We also have our seniors, which I guess I'm one now too. And it's, you know, and we want to have a nice library, we want to have a nice senior center. We need good police and fire services. We need to have a great team that plows our roads and maintains our buildings. There's so much that goes into this. I have to say, when I step back and I'm really looking at this issue here and reading the language, it's kind of arbitrary. It comes out of Hartford. I'm listening to, quite honestly, there's a lot more concern from citizens coming out on this issue than I really thought there would be. And I don't disagree. I mean, I think we have to be honest and balancing all sides. Right now, as I sit, I agree with Jim. I think that I'm all in for the deficit reduction plan. I also have not written off partially or some additional funding, but I'd have to hear a pretty good argument for that. You know, I want to make sure that like folks like my mother, who still lives in the house that I grew up in, can continue to afford her taxes. She's 89 years old, and I think we have to think about those people too. So yeah, where I sit right now, I think I'm definitely fine with the deficit reduction of $200,000, $197,000. I could go a little more, but I need to hear a good, strong argument for that.
John, thank you very much. Dave, do you want to go next? Dave, can you hear us?
He looks frozen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I kind of agree with John and Jim. 200,000, I could probably go a little bit more, but again, we have to look at Wayne. Again, my internet connection up here is kind of glitching. I don't know if you can hear me, but you know, I think
You're cutting out, Dave.
that's I'm good with the 200,000. I think, you know, possibly a little bit more.
Okay. All right, Dave, I got it.
I agree with what Vinny said. I agree with John and Jim. If I was gonna approve anything, it wouldn't be more than the 200,000. I think we owe more to the taxpayers and the residents in town, because we all know that the mill rate will be going up when the school projects are complete. And you know, I don't have a problem with filling their budget shortfall on the Board of Ed, but I think the taxpayers need a break for once.
And I just will add one thing to this, one other element that came into my thought process. We all fought hard for a workable school plan. And the thing that made that plan workable was that state reimbursement at a fairly significant clip that came through. If you read the guidance that Office of Policy Management put out, this money has to be accounted for by towns, kind of like you accounted for the funds during COVID. It has to be put into a separate fund. It has to be reported as to how it's used. You know, and the one, you know, I know it's not an issue, but you know, I always like to think of the downside. We we voted for a school plan which lays an awful lot on the state of Connecticut trusting us and giving us a substantial sum of money. And I want to make sure that however we do this, we are clean as a whistle. And nothing that we do, nothing that we report, nothing that we use is anything but the way that the state anticipated that we use it. You know, and that's why, quite honestly, I keep leaning back towards the lower number, only because I want to make sure this, in my mind, rather than just saying a percentage here, a percentage there, this I can actually assign something to. We are actually taking these funds to eliminate a deficit that we knew about when we negotiated our budget. But I do have a little concern that we stay squeaky clean as far as the state is concerned with our use of this money and our reporting of this money, because I don't want to jeopardize any of that funding that we're trying to get for our school.
Well said, John. All right. So a few things right now. So I think what I'm hearing from everyone is everyone would be comfortable with 200,000, and some people have expressed an interest to go higher, possibly. Some absolutely no after 200,000. My feeling is, and I want to add to what everyone has said, I understand the complication with this because the intentions, and we, again, it's an abundance of funding from the state that we didn't expect. We get to do something good with it. It reduces down what people have already voted yes for. So it's going to be a benefit to everyone no matter what. I do want to say, based on my history on the board, Jim, and others that have been here for a while, is whenever the Board of Ed has needed funding for something, furnaces at Brownstone for $250,000 or whatever, we as a town have always provided for them. They've come to us and we have gone to, because we've looked at it carefully. They've never, in my experience, cried wolf in the 16 years I've been doing this as a member or as in this position. So whatever our vote's going to be, if there is funding or something that happens that is of concern enough to come to us, I think this board would deliberate in a way that would choose to support the schools should it be something that's needed. So with that being said, I have 3 resolutions that are on here, and I'm going to go through and start with the $300,000 one. Is there anyone here willing to make a motion for the resolution that provides $300,000 to the school and the rest to the town for tax relief? Does anyone want to make that motion? Okay. No one's made that motion. I will put that aside. The next one I have is a resolution that provides the Board of Education with a split on the $527,000. The total amount to Board of Ed would be $263,957, and the balance would go to tax reduction. Would anyone like to make that motion?
Well, to make a motion that
Sure.
doesn't have any votes
Is
that
it-
I've heard. So,
Do you want to make that
No.
motion anyways? No? There'd have to be a second too.
right.
All right. David?
Sorry, Mike, I can't hear you. You're
I was
glitching out
gonna-
here.
I was going to say, do you want to make a motion or not? I don't know if you could hear what I just said.
This would be for this, what Mike's asking about. He's running the plans down in order from 300 to split. This is for a split versus the 200,000.
So in order to do that, Andrea's not going to make a motion or
Why don't we, Mike, I know you want to run it down that way. Why don't we, I think we've got a pretty good consensus of the board, and rather than risk a problem with Zoom creating an issue, especially when it's glitching, I will make a motion that we adopt the resolution entitled Adoption of the Mill Rate for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. And it would be the version for 200,000 dated June 1, 2026, whereas the 2026-2027 budget for the town of Portland estimates that $5,732,762 will be received from the state of Connecticut. And without this, the mill rate would be 43.03 mils. Now therefore be it resolved that the mill rate for the fiscal year 2026-2027 be and is hereby set at 36.36 mils. I want to make sure I got that right. For all taxes other than motor vehicle due and payable on July 1, 2026 and January 1, 2027. And be it further resolved that the mill rate for the fiscal year 2026-2027 be and is hereby set at the state cap of 32.46 mils for motor vehicles due and payable on July 1, 2026, and motor vehicle supplemental due and payable on January 1, 2027.
All right, someone like to make a second on that? Vinny would like to second that. Any further discussion? With that, I'll call for a motion. A vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Oppose.
Aye.
Oh. Dave, is that a yay or a nay?
I think
Yay.
he's left.
Yeah.
So
So that's a yay. So
I oppose.
oppose, Andrew opposes. No abstentions. All right, motion passes. All right. Thank you very much for your thoughtful deliberation. We at least came to a conclusion tonight, so. All right. Next item. So I have provided the board with an example of a charter revision resolution. I'm not ready to provide that yet or to vote on that yet tonight, but I wanted to start that discussion as we had talked about earlier in the year. It's been since 2003, since our last charter, 2004, since our last charter revision. A long time has gone by, and we do need to look at that. We need to do several things. We need to find an attorney to do that and put out an RFP. We need to do a number of things to prep for this. We need to pick the right size committee to do this. So there's a great deal of work, but I want this board thinking about what we need to do going forward. I want everyone to review the charter so we can get some details. And at our next meeting, I will have a revised resolution that sets that up. I want to confer with our attorneys on a couple things as well. There's some loose ends that need to be referred on this, but we do want to start that process and we can get that committee hopefully seated quickly.
Can I say something?
Yes, absolutely.
The one thing that I've been concerned about on this charter revision committee for a while is, my understanding is statutorily, once you begin the process of selecting your committee member,
Yes,
you have 30 days.
the clock goes
The
exactly.
clock starts.
Yes.
If there's anything that we need to be doing at our next meeting, my suggestion would be to go through this charter document and try to identify, point this committee in some direction.
Yeah.
Give them, I'm not saying give them guardrails, but I think for a committee just to sit down at a table and have, 40 plus pages of charter.
We need to give them hot topics to look at.
Right, exactly.
This is
Exactly.
the
100%.
top 5 things that we think are issues, or
Right.
something that needs change.
Right.
Right.
And they can also review anything else on their own.
Absolutely.
But this is what we would like you to prioritize.
They have a tight timeline.
Yes.
And once
Mhm.
we begin discussing membership, I think the clock starts ticking on
Right.
us.
Yes, once we start appointing people.
Yeah.
So that's why.
So I really think
Absolutely.
maybe the discussion we need to have, we all need to bring this to our next meeting, give
Absolutely.
ourselves a lot of agenda time and just walk through this document publicly so that everybody understands what's in it, what sections say what.
Yep.
And identify some areas that we want to provide as guidance, as priority items as we see it to the members that we
Yeah.
ultimately choose.
But we're talking 22 years, nobody's looked at this thing, right? So a committee is gonna review the entire.
All I'm saying is it's
Document.
easy to say review it, but if everybody has a different opinion, they could be chasing their tail for a long time. We need to give them some direction, I think.
Well, no, I'm not disagreeing that we don't need to give them direction. I just don't want us to continue to, I want us to make an effort to address this sooner than later because it's
Right.
been talked about for a very long time.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying one meeting is all we need
Okay.
Right.
to go through this. But just to begin the discussion and to start naming names and hand them the book and say, okay, go to it.
No,
I don't
no.
think that's fair.
No,
No.
I agree with you, but do we drive what the hot topics are?
I think we can convey, as a board that, basically has run into certain challenges.
Yeah.
Based on what it says, we've got a pretty good view of where we know, just operationally, that our current charter presents some challenges and needs to be updated.
True.
So I think putting a focus on that to make sure those things are looked at in particular, And knowing the committee, when they look at it, is still gonna look at other things. They may come up with other ideas that they'll present. But at a minimum, if we target some and give them some targeted information, it at least ensures that some of the places where we know there are issues, that we really should be looking at updating,
Mhm.
we make sure those do get looked at.
Yeah,
One of the things that we identified on more than one occasion is this was all written before electronic media, before emails, before text
There's
messaging,
so
before
many
any of
things that
that
are
stuff.
outdated, absolutely.
And I think if we can just, that's one thing right there, we could just point them in the direction of that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the things,
about the RFP for
well,
the,
because we have to choose an attorney that's gonna handle this as well. So choosing the person and also budgeting it. So
before we even form the committee?
there's a number of rules for how we need to form this committee. So,
We have those or?
Michelle
Yes.
sent us an email with a guideline.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
saw that.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
That was
But-
not what.
no, but there's
Okay.
certain countdowns and clocks on it, but I wanted to at least start tonight because we need to do that. There's a lot of details. I'll give an example. We're gonna be forming a building committee today.
Right.
And how we set that up, how many people that we have on there, what are the areas, what are
Right.
the focuses we want, is something that as a board, we have the ability to try to create that best team to get this done. So there's certain things that we can do and we need to discuss that.
Right,
We need to
and-
discuss that in public.
Right, and I think somebody said once that it was at least like an 18-month process and it has to go to voters in an election, correct? Am I correct? It has to go on,
For the charter revision?
Yeah. so, I mean, if you're talking about like November of 2027, you maybe don't have time to get it done in that,
It depends how much stuff they review.
Right.
right?
And it
Well, I
depends
thought
how-
somebody
It
in
depends
here
how efficient they are.
was saying
at
like,
meetings.
18 months was the typical, time.
Well, they have to periodically, according to the guidelines, report out
But-
Yeah.
on, give updates, and that would be incumbent upon us and others
Right.
that are monitoring it to make sure they're not losing ground.
Correct.
All right, so what's our action item on
So
this? Then we're gonna
There,
look,
there's no action on this.
no, but I mean for us to look at the,
Yes.
I heard John saying,
Yes.
Just a recommendation, but I mean, I
I
don't know
agree.
what everybody else says.
I've looked at it so
I
many
have
times
too,
right now.
but we've
everyone-
never as a group
Right,
talked about
Got it.
the document.
okay,
right.
so it'll be on the agenda.
It'll be on the agenda, yeah.
Yes.
So, all right,
At our next meeting, can we make it like the last thing on the agenda so we can go through everything else first? So if like
absolutely.
people are online or sitting, they don't have to
Yeah.
listen to it if they don't want to, if they're trying to get
Yeah.
to their piece.
You mean people mute us out?
Yes.
And I would
I'm
try,
shocked by
I would
that.
try to kind of make it a little agenda light.
Right.
And-
We have more
and-
time.
And put a lot of weight on this
Which,
discussion.
that's why we said June, because usually the budget's over, everything
Right.
else is, there's
Right.
June and July and August are our light months. Yeah.
All right, next agenda, resolution for the schools project building committee. So I put together a resolution that details that. I am so happy that the voters of Portland agreed with, I think, this board and Board of Ed and a number of other groups that this is a project that needs to get done. And I want to get this thing started right away. Has everyone reviewed this resolution?
I reviewed it, I read it, I'm willing to make a motion and read it into the record. When the second, we can have a discussion, whatever you want.
Oh, absolutely. So again, this should cover the outline of that. I've already received a half a dozen applications, resumes from people that are interested, had a number of discussions. I don't know if people have talked to you as well, but there's a great deal of interest in this committee. It will be the group that will be shepherding this project from now for the next 5 years. So we want to make sure we get it right. I spent a great deal of time with Dr. Britton and others and communicating with you in terms of what does the fit of the committee need? And what have other committees done in the past in other schools? So I've put together what I think is a reasonable committee in terms of like the number of people that are on the committee. You can't have too many, you can't have too few alternates, ex officio members, et cetera. So I feel comfortable with this. I'd like, John, you don't have to read the whole thing. I'll read a few of it, but if people want to read some of this thing as
Well,
well.
I mean, I'll go through it, just because I think we worked hard on this for quite a long time, and I
Right.
think if people are gonna watch this meeting, I think they should be able to hear it.
Yes.
I
Do
can
we
read it.
want to discuss it before you read it in case we want to change something?
Let's do it.
Either way, I
Well,
mean,
I'm just wondering because under membership and the fourth paragraph on the first page, there's parts that contradict each other on what the membership is.
Which one?
It
Board of Selectmen
says
pursuant to section 405.
Director of Finance, First Selectman, Chairman of the Board of Ed, Superintendent of the Schools will be ex officio.
The way I
So-
read it is there's 9 voting members, 2 alternates, and 4 ex officio. So that's 15 members.
Well, that's the first question. Do we want it at 11 people?
But it also says consisting up to, so 9 isn't.
But under membership, it has 9. It lists 9 people on the second page.
Yeah, just voting.
Yeah,
9
but
voting.
I'm saying,
members.
do we want it at 9 people?
Well, that's a good question. The consensus that I've heard from other committees is 7 might be too little, depending on expertise, but here's the conflicting argument, though. This committee has the ability to pull in any expert out there. So if we need an expert at architectural design or interior design or anything, they can pull that into the group as well. So that's something that we should decide before we do that.
Once again, on the 4th paragraph on the front page, it has up to 9 voting members, and on the under membership, it shall consist of up to 9 voting members. It gives you latitude there too. I mean,
Well, that's my question is if you put it at 9 plus 2 alternates, plus all the ex officio on the front, you're gonna have 20 people in a room.
well, I don't disagree with Mike, though. I mean, a project like this, I would love to have somebody that's got architectural background, engineering background, accounting background, a teaching background. With the 4 ex officio members and the fact that this is going to be, Mike said 5 years. I'm thinking more like 7 years by the time this thing is done.
I'm sorry, Mary.
Don't buy that house in Florida yet.
How many years is the project going to take from start to finish? 5. And if you start the committee now, they're going to probably have close to another year working before we even kick it off. And then I believe in here, it also talks about basically finalizing the books. And that may be another year at the opposite end.
Which that might be a hard thing to get people to sign up for 5 years.
Right.
But I'm also saying by having that number, if you gain people and lose people throughout the process, you start with a slightly larger number, you're not going to have that brain drained at any point in the game.
Well, I think too, and I think too, that when you look at, and I go back and forth, right? Having that many people, might make it more difficult at times to get to a consensus, right? But then you look at it and you say 4 of them, one's from Board of Selectmen, one's from Board of Ed.
Grounds.
Right, one's from, building grounds, a designee. And then one that's, basically an educator, right, in terms of those needs. So it looks like 5 members at large is the core, so, and then when you're trying to cover those specialties of, commercial construction, the architecture, engineering, right, finance, the legal aspects of it, it's hard, if you start to winnow that down, that's when you start running into a problem, you may lose some of that expertise. So, nine seems high to me, but I think it's.
That's why I like the up to 9. I kept zoning in on that because 9 is high, but I also thought, then I immediately thought, oh my God, this is 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I've been on a number of committees in my work career, and I know when you divvy up the workload and you set up subcommittees, that may not be so bad.
So, the 7 and 9, I mean, I'm like Jim, I can go between the two. And I understand, right, with attrition, people are going to be, things are going to happen, right? People are going to drop off. But I do have a question. It has the director of finance or director of finance has a full-time job.
So
Being a director of finance, right? And my thought is having a controller, like in a typical factory, or there's a person who's a controller, a financial controller. They're keeping an eye on everything that has to do with money, and they really don't concern themselves with nuts and bolts and the roof. And their only job is to make sure that we don't go over budget. I don't see that in here specifically, or would that be something that would be added into the membership? Because I see that as look, at the end of the day, I think we all agree we're going to end up with 2 wonderful, wonderful schools. And this committee, I really believe whoever they are going to do a great job. they're gonna pick this air conditioning unit versus that one. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, are we gonna blow $42 million or $50 million? Who's watching the numbers? That's gonna keep us from that cliff every single day.
So I think that's,
Where's that? Is that in here?
that's
They're
in,
gonna-
under the membership, 5 members. And again, we're picking the folks that are applying to us.
Yeah,
That would be one of the things, contract law, project management, financial, let me just see.
so that would fall to us to make sure, or try to get someone that would fill that role.
Absolutely, because I think that's vital. And the ex officio members, the reason that we put that in is it allows them to attend the meetings to be able to speak up during the meeting.
Okay.
Instead of, they're not voting, but if, let's say, Mr. Robinson was going to go to a meeting or a designee that he provides to from the town finance point of view, it allows them to be able to designate someone to go there. So it's more of being able to attend the meeting and be able to engage during the meeting.
Okay.
So there was some reason. No, of course not. Of course not.
Like Tom would only go when they were talking finances.
Right,
He's not
right.
gonna be there when they're talking
Right.
what the exterior product is gonna be.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
Exactly. And getting the right mix as well, too.
Unless he sees the trend going, and it's like, well, maybe you don't get that super Cadillac AC roof unit.
You don't want Tom in the meeting, right?
Well, no, I think
do.
we do want Tom in the meeting.
There's something wrong. Right. Hmm?
Okay.
So,
And those positions, we're the entity that
yeah,
chooses them.
yeah, we're the one
Yeah,
picking
okay,
it. So,
John.
so we're gonna create that. What, I guess my ask tonight is, love to vote on this. Let's make sure if we need any edits in there, if we need to make any changes. If we discover something that we need to edit or modify, we could do that at the next meeting. But we'd like, once we approve this, we could start the interview process. We could start the ball moving. I believe Dr. Britton is putting the paperwork together, and maybe in 2 weeks or so, we'll be submitting it, 3 weeks, end of month. Yes, yes. Okay, oh, we've already put that in? The grant, yes. Next week, right? So that's going to be put in as well. So I'd love to start the interview process so we can get people on there, because again, people are talking to me.
On a side note, when does the bid go out for the architectural firm?
That's the first task of these guys, right?
Charles, do you mind doing that up there, just because there might be people ask, they're listening to us. It's important. Repeat the question if you can, that Bob asked, and then.
That's a great question. So once the grant's gonna be in next week, you have to form the building committee first. The first job the building committee is gonna have is to review the RFPs and the RFQs for architectural services, operation project manager, or clerk of the works, depending on which direction you want to go with that, and construction services. In an ideal world, the building committee will make that decision first, review those specs, and I have some really good, samples of them, and then publish those. And then, of course, there's going to have to be a decision. Do you want to do a bidders conference? Do you want to do interviews? How do you want to weed out different vendors? There's lots of different ways, but that's going to be the building. I mean, first, selecting a chair, selecting a secretary, establishing yourself as a building committee. But the very first important job is publish those RFPs, RFQs, and then get to a point, hopefully by the end of the summer, where you've hired those professionals, and then you have your team, right? You have your building committee and your architect, and away you go. But that's the first meeting, or second, very quickly.
Thank you, Dr. Britton. All right,
Can you read it?
so, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll read
Read it first.
the resolution. I think it's long, but I think it needs to be in the record.
All right, beautiful.
Resolution, Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, Connecticut, dated June 21, 2026, creation of a Portland School Building Committee. Whereas on May 11, 2026, the voters of the Town of Portland overwhelmingly approved a referendum authorizing the renovation, reconstruction, and improvement of Portland school facilities, including renovate to new Valley View Elementary School, renovate to new Gildersleeve Elementary School, capital improvements to the middle school, high school complex, and repurposing Brownstone Intermediate School. And whereas the approved project represents one of the most significant public investments in the history of the town of Portland and will shape the educational, financial, and community future of the town for generations. And whereas the Board of Selectmen finds it necessary and appropriate to establish a school building committee to oversee the planning, design, construction, renovation, and implementation of the approved project, and to serve as the primary public body responsible for project oversight. And be it further resolved that the Board of Selectmen pursuant to Section 405, subsection 5 of Portland's Town Charter hereby creates a Portland School Building Committee, hereinafter the committee, consisting of up to 9 voting members and 2 alternate members. The Director of Finance, First Selectman, Board of Education Chairperson, and Superintendent of Schools will be ex officio non-voting members of the committee. And be it further resolved, the committee shall adhere to all aspects of the Connecticut Freedom of Information Law, dealing with public agencies and Robert's Rules of Order. And be it further resolved, the Board of Education retains the right to decide whether to replace any members who may resign or be removed for failure to participate in the work of the committee. And be it further resolved that the committee shall continue to function until such time as the work called for in this resolution is fully completed, at which time the committee shall notify the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen shall disband the committee. And be it further resolved that the Portland School Building Committee will act as the town's official building committee for purposes of Connecticut school construction reimbursement programs and requirements of the Connecticut Office of School Construction Grants and Review. Be it further resolved that the Board of Selectmen is hereby authorized to begin soliciting applications from residents and qualified interested parties immediately so the committee can be formed and begin its work as soon as possible. Purpose: the School Buildings Committee shall oversee and coordinate all phases of the approved school facilities project, including but not limited to: 1, working collaboratively with the Board of Education, school administration, project architects, engineers, construction managers, and state agencies. 2, monitoring project scope, schedule, and budget. 3, reviewing and making recommendations regarding design and construction decisions. 4, ensuring compliance with all applicable state and local requirements. 5, work closely with BOS, BOE superintendent to oversee applications for state reimbursement and grant funding. 6, provide regular public updates on project progress. And 7, make recommendations to Board of Selectmen and Board of Education regarding project matters requiring approval. Membership: the School Building Committee shall consist of up to 9 voting members and 2 alternates appointed by the Board of Selectmen as follows: 1 member designated by the Board of Selectmen, 1 member designated by the Board of Education Chairperson or their designee, the PPS Director of Buildings and Grounds or designee, 5 members with a breadth of relevant expertise, including but not limited to experience with school or commercial construction, architecture, engineering, design, experience with finance, accounting, contracts and law, and project management, and 1 member with elementary and/or special education teaching expertise. The Board of Selectmen may adjust appointments as necessary to ensure a broad range of expertise and community representation. Officers: the School Building Committee shall elect from among its membership a chairperson, a vice chairperson, and a secretary. The committee may establish subcommittees as necessary. Meetings: the School Building Committee shall conduct meetings in accordance with Connecticut Freedom of Information Act requirements, maintain agendas, minutes, and records of proceedings, meet as frequently as necessary to carry out its responsibilities. Reporting: the School Building Committee shall provide regular reports to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education regarding project status, budget updates, schedule milestones, change orders and contingencies, state reimbursement matters, and public outreach efforts. Duration: the School Building Committee shall remain in existence until: 1, completion of the approved school facilities project; 2, completion of all financial closeout activities; 3, acceptance of the project by the town and Board of Education; and 4, dissolution by action of the Board of Selectmen. An effective date: this resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption.
All right, thank you, John. Were there any edits or changes that they saw in there? What's that? So yes, thank you. So on the first page, where it says that the Director of Finance, First Selectman, Board of Education, Board of Education Chairperson, and Superintendent of Schools will be ex officio non-voting members. Mr. Robinson would like to have either Director of Finance or designee. So we can add that to that. So on the first page, resolved, Director of Finance or designee.
Okay.
John, you did as the liaison. Do you want to make the motion or?
Well, I just did, right? I
Yeah.
read it. I'll make the motion.
Right.
I'll move the resolution.
I will second it.
You'll second it. All right. Any further discussion? I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Delay.
All those in favor?
Here it is.
He's frozen. I just want to make sure. Had to make sure.
You're messing with him.
But Julia, you have to wait, I think, before you say the opposed.
Okay, there you go. All right, very good. So all in favor, none opposed, none abstention.
Okay.
Motion passes. We have a building committee.
Okay.
That's
Well, we
fantastic.
have a
Beginning,
start.
the start of it. Now we can start making that. So thank you very, very much. On the fourth
Under
paragraph
resolve.
on resolve,
You're talking about for the change?
Fourth sentence, Director of Finance.
there you go. Tom, thanks for the reminder.
Wait.
Okay.
There's way too much paper.
I
right?
can't.
We need,
I'm shuffling.
do they have something that you can just type? That has the same thing.
Well, I
I
would,
think we need to roll in.
that's why I'm starting to bring.
All right. All right, old business. Yes.
We made that 14A.
Yeah, made that 14A. Yes, yes. There you go. Thank you very much. Dr. Britton, have a good night. All right, so under old business, any appointments or reappointments of boards or commissions?
No.
Okay, fantastic. All right, updates on various things. Nordic Spa is still continuing. I met several of their employees on Friday and Saturday. They came down to the quarry event. They were very well received. They're still targeting November. Construction continues on. The owner and some of the key people will be coming down in about 2 weeks. And if the board members would like to participate in another, I guess, view of the property, they're going to walk people through again. They'll be a little closer to getting it done. So I'll let everyone know what the dates are and
Yeah.
times, but I think that would definitely be worthwhile if you have not already gone. So, River Access Project. Actually, Rick, would you like to actually make that update real quickly while you're here? Yeah, go for it. I'll let you go up there.
He's coming.
You spent 3 hours, so you might as well say something.
I wasn't expecting that or this.
I know.
As Mike mentioned earlier, the ribbon cutting sort of grand opening is Saturday. I'll just say it's still a work in progress. There's quite a, there's a lot more sprucing up to be done. And there's work plans. Work will be going on over the summer and into the fall. I believe the town at some point is going to chip seal the road. Right now it's a gravel road. It's wide enough for 2 cars. It's pretty well packed down. So it's not a problem getting down to the river parking lot. And there is a blacktop area in the lower parking lot for handicapped people. We've had a great response from volunteers, and particularly this spring, Dave Thompson from Thompson Landscaping and Portland Exchange. He's a member of the Portland Exchange Clubs, lives in town. He's been down there he was down there tonight, actually, but he's been down there on 3 other occasions with equipment. He's moved a lot of the dead trees, and underbrush, kind of the tough stuff, so that we have a nice broad area, cleared area at the riverfront. He's done some more seeding And we asked the town this week to save some of the, I'll call it semi-topsoil material that we're gonna spread in the coming, well, we'll spread it in the next month or two, but at this point, we'll probably be seeding in the fall. And we have some money from our fundraising that we'll be buying native plants to fill in the disturbed areas. But basically, I see this as like our current riverfront park. It's gonna be evolving over the next several years. But it's in good enough shape that people can go kayaking, canoeing, walk in the water. People have been down there fishing. As a matter of fact, I had to ask some fishermen to move Monday night because we were down there with weed whackers and pruning shears trying to clear the overgrowth, what's regrown, so it'd be nice and clean for Saturday. But it's even though it's not officially open, people have been going down there. So I think it's something the town can be proud of. So thank you for your support on that.
Yeah, thanks for all your help in this too.
Thanks for keeping that short too.
All right, also a quick public works update, well, and some other things would be great. You've also spent 2 hours here.
Jason Morocco, Public Works Director. So we're continuing High Street, not High Street, but the connectivity sidewalk project. Currently, we're on Main Street. We ran into a few issues with some state permitting, so we had to pull back from there. But we're in the process of getting a couple change order or one change order to extend the project onto Waverly, doing the sidewalks on both sides of Waverly, and then continuing the sidewalks up East Main from what is that, Fairview to Spring. Just replacing what's already there. The nice part is that the ramps, 88 ramps have already been done, so it's pretty much just replacing the sidewalk, in kind. So there's not much engineering wise that needed to be done in those two areas. The well for Gospel Lane, the new well, we picked an area where we want to concentrate on of where we want to put the building, which will be kind of where the horseshoe pits are, where it would be probably most likely a single-story building instead of putting it on the hill or slope where the current well is drilled, because that would probably be a two-story building halfway into the ground like a bunker style, and then we'd have to have a way to get up around the back. So we made the decision with the design to plan on the building being over where the horseshoe pits are, so that we can build it a little bit bigger with expansion in mind and maybe utilize some of the part of the building, if it's bigger, to utilize as maybe some storage for a few years before we may need it for extra treatment. Rick talked about the kayak launch canoe. That's kind of, we're helping him out as best as we can to move some brownstone around there and give him anything that he possibly may need. We're also moving some of that stockpiled material that we use to save money to get the project done. We're trucking that to different sites and using it here and there. We had a water main break today on Strong Ave. That's already been corrected before I got here. And we are gonna, once the new year comes around, new fiscal year comes around, we're gonna start with our, chip sealing and other projects. So that's kind of in a nutshell, real quick, because I know you've all been here for a while. I don't know if you have any questions for myself, if I missed something. The blank stare, everyone looks good. All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you very much. All right, status and committee reports.
Next week for water and sewer and Parks and Rec, so.
Board of Ed last night. A good portion of the meeting went into executive session. That the highlight really was retirements, recognition of Lisa Kaczynski and Isha Murphy retiring. They're both great teachers, been there a long time, and they're going to be a loss. And then Liam Rowe, who, he's a great young man. He's one of the student representatives, has been for 3 years on the board, and he's going off to college, so they gave him a nice goodbye. And then there was a presentation from Brownstone Intermediate School. We always talk about leasing out our classrooms at BIS, BIS. And I guess the relationship was much closer before COVID, from what I understand. And then that kind of fell away. So representatives from BIS went with the kids from the school to Salmon River on a Salmon River field trip. And it sounded like it was really refreshing to hear how these kids got along and took care of one another. So good meeting.
Fantastic.
I did have a senior advisory committee meeting, and basically, they talk a lot about all the great programs that are happening at our senior center. I think, Sarah's mentioned before, she has upwards of 100+ programs a month, and the growth of new members has been like 131%. So there's a real lot of activity happening there. A couple of really quick things. I didn't know that the Meals on Wheels program, and I didn't know if you guys knew this, that it changed to a frozen food delivery system. It used to be that they bring them 10 meals every other week, like frozen stuff, instead of how they used to bring them. So Sarah also has this Neighbor Connect program that she works with the food bank to bring out like items to homebound individuals to fill some of that gap, because maybe they're not having all the interactions that they might have been having. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, I don't know how we got on the topic, but Sarah was mentioning how some towns have a commission on aging. And I sort of like looked into that after she said it. And that's one of the things that if we talk about like charter revision in some towns' charters, it's more a commission on aging versus a senior center advisory. So when we talk about the population and aging in Portland, maybe that is an area for our charter where we look at there being a more robust and commission on aging versus this. Not that there's anything wrong with the work that they're doing, but maybe bringing more expertise into a commission on aging that are supporting the things and that are happening there and the expansion that she's had.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Very good.
Ben, you got anything?
No, other than, as the zoning board of appeals enforcement and ordinances, but we're gonna kind of talk about in
Right.
later meetings.
Yep, absolutely.
I know the planning and zoning really is looking forward to that.
Yes.
Planning and zoning is going as usual. They have another gas station coming up this week. I'm sure everyone's excited about it.
Yeah.
Finally,
Yep,
we'll
it's
have
number
enough
9.
in town.
Yeah.
We almost got the double digits.
Across the street from Winchester, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The only difference is he's also building
3,000
he wants
square
a
foot.
4,000 square foot retail
Yeah.
building plus a 3,700 square foot building for the gas station.
Wow.
I think it'll be kind of like the big gas station that built in the center of Marlboro. So it's not just a gas station. There's other stores
Like a store,
integrated
yeah.
into like a plaza.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a lot of square feet.
Yes, pretty big, yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the one that's on the corner of 66 and that Main Street there, that when you get up to Route
Yes.
2? Okay.
Yep. That's it.
It's a good sign. All right, any public comment? I knew we were waiting for some reason.
Good story.
Yeah, no, listen, we like good stories.
I'm not coming up here to complain. Judy Grippo, 10 Middle Haddam Road. I wish that some of the school board was still here because this is a good news story. I'm part of a committee for the 50th reunion, 1976. It's bicentennial, and we're having our reunion next week. But I wanted to just let you guys know that we're pairing with the 2026 graduates this year. We've already met with the graduating class, a couple of them, and kind of told them what we did when in high school and what they can look forward to in their life. We also had a scholarship put together for a reunion and gave a $1,200 scholarship to a senior this year. So there's some good news, and we will also be participating in the graduation. They're going to have a little seating for us as well. So 250 years. So that's kind of a good news thing for the school. So thanks.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Appreciate that. Just 50 years? Just. I graduated 1980. 46 years.
Thinking about
That's a big number. I don't want to talk about that anymore. So, all right. Yeah, so there's nothing new since the last meeting. Jersey Mike's is now, they're hiring. And they've got about, I think, 70 days left for their build out, but they're moving forward. They still haven't put, was it Building C? They want to put next to Sage House.
Yeah.
They haven't gotten that going yet. They should have been doing it by now, but they got a couple slowdowns there. The foundation for the next building for the senior housing, assisted living, that one, I know they still talked about getting that in before fall because they really do need to get that done so they can start building next year. That's still on target for that, but I don't know when they're going to start that. It's still a question mark, but it's still moving along. They're still filling up the second building. I think they have 13 rented so far. They just got a CO 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, not that long ago. So they're working on that. They've had a couple of people migrate from the first building to get a better view. So that's happening right now. So. Yes.
Sure.
Oh, please.
No, we're not. Are we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll
I'm
keep
out
it
of
quick.
order.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, we.
Oh, you're right.
yeah.
Laurel Steinhauser, 56 Prospect Street. I just wanted to offer two quick points of clarification about a couple of things that came up during the meeting that then just have been in the back of my head, and I didn't want any confusion. And the first was just a point that Meg Scotta was making during her public comment where she was talking about the ECS formula, the funding that we get for education, and the foundation rate is $11,525. Portland does not receive $11,525 for every student. We receive on average about $4,100 per student. The foundation rate is part of a very complicated formula that factors in student need, students with disabilities, free and reduced lunch, socioeconomic stuff. So it's based on our current census. So we receive about $4,100 per student. And I thought that was important to say. We get about 5 million. We don't get,
Right.
10 or 12 million. And the second point of clarification, just around your comment, John, around reporting on the funding that we do receive from the state. For clarity, that 527 or 28,000 that's earmarked as supplemental education funding goes to the Board of Education to be spent and tracked. And I want to reassure you that Stephanie and our team is incredibly skilled and adept at tracking how all of our grant funding is spent and how it's reported back to the
It's just
state.
my neuroses about stuff like this.
Of course. So the funding that you reduce from the mill rate is on your end, but the entirety of that funding goes to the Board of Education for tracking and reporting, and Stephanie on her end will be incredibly careful with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you.
No,
All right.
don't forget me.
All right. All right.
Yeah, there'd be-
Joe, we're almost to
there'd
the
be no
point where you
problem.
can sit to it. something.
No.
All right.
There'd be no problem.
Any general informal discussion? Should we go right to the
Really
next one?
quick thing. Really quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we should, I think especially with Joe here.
Yeah.
I have
No, no.
one very
Yeah.
quick thing.
Start the
Will
clock.
we not have to disband the strategic capital improvement committee? Once we said after the referendum, we had to talk about disbanding them. They
Yeah.
don't need
Yeah,
to.
because they're done. They don't.
Yeah, they
Right.
Well, they
completed
weren't
it. So
formally disbanded.
so we need to formally do that. Yep.
Do that next meeting.
Hey, so we add one and delete.
So
one.
that's it, all right?
We hung on to them because we wanted to make sure if we needed.
You never
for
know,
any
there's some
input.
people on there that could shift to our new one.
All right, there you go. There you go.
I could think of one.
That is excellent. Very good. All right, follow-up. I have no follow-up with ethics ordinance. Nothing on mine. Does anyone have any comments about that?
No.
Okay, thank God. All right, I'd like to call for.
Before you do the
Oh, yeah.
motion,
Yeah.
I just want to state while we're on the record that the strategy on collective bargaining does not constitute a meeting at all under the FOI statute. So
Okay,
go ahead with the motion, but in case anybody challenges it someday, it's not a meeting at all.
okay.
Thank you.
Very, very good.
I'll make a motion. We go enter executive session for strategy on collective bargaining with Joe McQuaid present.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
I.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you very much.